two triangles here that we want to show they're congruent, but then we also need to write this statement. And then you'll see here, probably wondering what ASA mean. Okay, so then each of these statements, so this A represents angle, and then the S represents side. So then we want to see if we can show that this first statement to show that an angle is congruent, and then this second statement, side, the S, to show that two sides are congruent. So in other words, we want to prove it by angle, side, angle. All right, but first we need to prove it. All right. Okay. All right, so first let's go over a parallelogram. So what do we know about parallelograms? So we talked about this a couple times. So what we know about parallelograms is that parallelograms must have opposite sides that are parallel. Okay, so then like BC here is parallel to AC or AD because they're opposite of each other. Okay, and then remember what we talked about? If I know that two lines are parallel, I've got some alternate interior angles here. So then the angles that are opposite of each other, they are the same. Okay, so then angle 1 and angle 3, they are congruent. Okay, because the reason for that, they are alternate interior angles. All right. Okay, and then, so that's our first statement. I know angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they're alternate interior angles. Because I know these two, because I know this is a parallelogram, I know that opposite sides are parallel. Okay, which means I have those kinds of angles here. All right. Okay, so then our second statement, we want to show that two sides, okay, share that one side in each triangle is congruent. Okay, so like you already know, like you already saw this, these two triangles, they share a side, which means that side AC is congruent to AC because, remember, the reflexive property. Okay, the reflexive property. I'm just going to write prop. Okay, shorten it out. All right. Okay, so there we have that. Okay, so far we have angle, side. Okay, so then our third reason, okay, third statement to show angles, okay. So as you see here, okay, I have two other angles. I have two other alternate interior angles. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they are alternate interior angles. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got our angles, okay? Two sets of angles are congruent and one side that's congruent. So then we just showed that these two triangles are the same, okay? Or they're congruent. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC, okay? By angle, side, angle. Sweet, we just proved it. Okay, so then now because we proved that, now we can see that all of the other corresponding parts of these two triangles, they are congruent. So we proved it by CPCTC. Okay, so then we just proved that side BC is congruent to AD and AB is congruent to CD. Okay. All right. Okay. So then there are some other theorems that we could use to solve this by. So if I know that parallel sides, okay, if I know a parallelogram, I also have opposite sides that are congruent. So we just proved it by angle, side, angle. Okay. Yeah, so we just proved it by angle, side, angle. We can also prove it by side, 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 if I know the opposite sides are congruent. Okay, so you can look at these to kind of like see, oh, I can also prove it by that. Okay, and you can also use that there. All right, okay, last one. Okay, so then given the parallelogram, show that the opposite angles are congruent. So prove that BD is congruent to angle D. angle B is congruent to angle D. All right, okay. So then again, if you look at this left side of your table, you'll see that side, side, side. So that means we want to show that these two triangles are the same by side, side, side. All right. Okay, so like you're thinking about right now, okay, so given this parallelogram, okay. Okay, here's another hint. Given the parallelogram, show that the opposite angles are congruent. So I like this because it tells me that this is a parallelogram. And what do we know about parallelograms? Is that opposite sides are congruent. Okay, so if you don't remember that, go back to your notes. Okay, I know that opposite sides are congruent in parallelograms. So then that means that BC is congruent to AD. Okay, so there's my first statement. So BC is congruent to AD. And the reason for that is because I know that's a property of a parallelogram. So then the reason I can say property of a parallelogram. All right, okay. And then, okay, BA is congruent to CD. AB is congruent to CD. Okay, because those are the other two opposite sides of a parallelogram. And that's the same reason I can use, because I know it's a property of a parallelogram. All right. Okay, so then we can prove that the third side is congruent because they share a side. Okay, they share a side. So AC is congruent to AC because, you guessed it, it's the reflexive property. Okay, they share a side, which means they're congruent. All right, okay, so now we just proved it. Okay, these two triangles are congruent by side, side, side. So triangle ABC is congruent to ADC by side, side, side. And because we know that they're congruent, I just showed that all of the other corresponding parts are congruent. So we just proved, so that means I just proved that angle B is congruent to angle D. Because we proved that these two triangles are congruent by side, 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 which means that the other parts are congruent. All right. Okay, so then that is 3.4. Okay, 3.4, showing that two triangles are congruent by these four theorems. Okay, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, side, angle, and side, side, side. All right. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about this lesson, okay, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, don't hesitate to ask me. You can come and see me for Flex. Come see me after school. The odd solutions are online so that you guys can do your homework. The paper for this assignment, it's on the desk in front of the class. All right, so please come up to the front of the class and grab that assignment. Okay, grab that assignment in the front of the class so that you can turn that in next class when I see you on Wednesday to turn it in. Okay, all right. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, have a great day, you guys.